Hello, everyone. Welcome to Barca News. It is March 17th, 2025, and Mateo Lahoz has admitted that he made a referee mistake that cost Barcelona a La Liga title. But they're still gonna, Madridistas gonna tell you, Negrera, Negrera. Sure, we're gonna talk about that. Also, Deco continues to consider Luis Diaz as one of Barcelona's main targets. And finally, we do have bad news because Barcelona have received two injury blows. We have a lot to discuss, so let's begin. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the channel. My name is Mo, and this is the Barca News Live podcast, which is on every Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, where we discuss Barcelona news, but where I also get to interact with you lovely people in the chat section by reading your comments, answering your questions, and getting that discussion going. For those of you who will be watching when the podcast ends, I will be putting timestamps in the description and chapters in the timeline in case you do want to skip through the discussion and get straight into the news. Having said all that, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment. If you are looking for any Barcelona jerseys or merchandise, make sure to hit the goal kits, get bag, or fanatics. If you are looking to place any sports bets, make sure to bet us. All links are down below in the description. You click on them, you get access to some pretty cool deals and offers. And of course, you would be supporting this channel. Having said all that, let's begin with the news. And as always, the first segment of news is made up with several bits of news combined together. And this time, well, all three of them are unfortunately bad news. I usually like to be the bearer of good news, but not today. Today we're starting the podcast with bad news, starting with the worst of them, which is that Marc Casado has been declared injured. Now, Marc Casado played yesterday with discomfort in his knee. He felt that discomfort before the match, but because Frankie de Jong had felt some discomfort and had been ruled out, then Marc Casado still decided to step in despite feeling that discomfort. He played, I think, approximately 40 minutes or something like that. Once he subbed out in the second half. Anyways, he didn't play a full match, but he did play with a discomfort after the match. Of course, usually the following day, that's when players undergo medical exams. Today, he underwent medical exams, and well, it's been revealed that Marc Casado has torn a ligament in his right knee. So not good news for the team, not good news for Marc Casado, because the player could be out up to 2 months. Now, this has not been confirmed. The injury is confirmed that he has a torn ligament. It's not been confirmed how long will he be out, but reports are stating that usually that kind of injury, you're usually out for about 2 months, which of course means that Marc Casado will miss the rest of the season. So big blow for the player and big blow for the team because, of course, Marc Casado has become very important for Hansi Flick, especially with the profile that he provides, an incredibly talented defensive midfielder. We're going to have to see who will Flick will have to rely in his place. Of course, we do have Frankie de Jong, but he's more of an offensive profile. We do have Eric Garcia, who has shown adaptability to that position as a defensive midfielder. And of course, we do have Gabi, who does give you a little bit more defensive profile, not as much as Casado or Eric, but more than Frankie de Jong for sure. So we'll see who will Flick choose in the place of Casado, but definitely bad news for the team and bad news for the player. And of course, Casado will not be joining the Spanish national team after getting a much well-deserved call-up to the national team during this FIFA international break. Now, the second bad news of this first segment is that Inigo Martinez has also suffered an injury to his knee. He too felt discomfort after the match against Atletico Madrid. He underwent medical exams today, and he too has withdrawn from his well-deserved call-up to the Spanish national team during his FIFA international break. But unlike Marc Casado, is not as bad. But it is expected that Inigo Martinez will miss around 2 to 3 weeks. Of course, it's still not good news because Inigo Martinez has become a definitive starter in Hansi Flick's team, a cornerstone of Barcelona's defense, a total leader that is always takes it upon himself to organize the defensive line, someone who's been able to execute Hansi Flick's offside trap to perfection or to almost perfection. And unfortunately, he will be out, which means he could be missing the semifinal, or he will miss the semifinal against Atletico Madrid, the second leg of the semifinal, which will be decisive because, as we know right now, both teams are drawn 4-4. So it looks like Inigo Martinez could miss that match. He could also miss the Girona match, which follows the Atletico Madrid semifinal. So not good news for the team and not good news for the player either. And of course, he will miss the Osasuna match if it ends up being played on a date that has been decided. Which brings us to the third bad news of this first segment, which is that the Royal Spanish Football Federation has decided FU Barcelona, FU Osasuna, FU everyone involved. We are going to hold the match on March 27th as soon as the FIFA international break is over, which is absolutely ridiculous. Now, Barcelona had objected to holding the match on March 27th because only one day before, on March 26th, Brazil is set to play against Argentina, which means that Coutinho will not be available for the Osasuna match because, you cannot play two matches back to back. It's just impossible. There's not enough time for him. Plus, he has to travel all the way from South America, which is a very long trip. Not to mention, you have to adjust to the time change. So I think it's 6 or 7 hour difference between Spain and Brazil, or I think 5 hour difference. And of course, there's recovery time. So Coutinho is not going to be available for this match. Also, Ronald Araujo on March 25th, he's playing with Uruguay against Bolivia. He will not also have enough time to recover. So Barcelona are going to be missing two important players for the match against Osasuna. Of course, Rafinha being more important than Ronald Araujo. But now with the injuries of Inigo Martinez, that means that probably Araujo could have been the starter next to Cubarsí. But now Hansi Flick will not be able to count on him. So Barcelona had objected to this, but La Liga went to the Royal Spanish Football Federation. They petitioned that they rule on this matter, and the Royal Spanish Football Federation have ruled that the match will take place on March 27th. Now, this is not final because Barcelona are planning to appeal this. They want to appeal this, and of course, also Osasuna has agreed that they're going to join Barcelona in their appeal. Of course, Osasuna has been very open to scheduling the match when it's more convenient for both teams, and they know what a difficult thing will be for Barcelona. So they have decided that they're also going to join the appeal to have the match played on a different date, more hopefully in May. That's what both teams are hoping for. But let's look at the fixtures right now, because this is when I say that this is absolutely ridiculous that the Royal Spanish Football Federation has decided to do this. But this would be pretty much Barcelona's schedule. March 27th, as you see, still TBA because Barcelona plan to appeal this, would be Barcelona versus Osasuna. 3 days later, immediately, we would have to play against Girona. And then 3 days later, again against Atletico Madrid. And then 3 days later, again against Real Betis. So 4 matches in 2 weeks is absolutely ridiculous. Again, not to mention that this Osasuna match will be immediately after the FIFA international break. So the players are going to come back already exhausted from playing 2 international matches, only to be followed by 4 matches in 2 weeks in La Liga / Copa del Rey. This is absolutely ridiculous. Not to mention, if I'm not mistaken, and let's look at this, but I'm pretty sure Osasuna has a match on the 28th. Let's double check. Yep. Osasuna on March 28th have a match against Athletic Club de Bilbao. So not only would Barcelona have to play 4 matches in 2 weeks, thanks to this idiotic ruling, but Osasuna would have a match on the 28th, literally the following day. They would play against Barcelona, and the following day they would have to play against Athletic Club de Bilbao. Absolutely idiotic decision by the Royal Spanish Football Federation, but at this point, I'm not surprised. These people are idiots. These people are incompetent. These people are stupid. I can't believe anyone would trust them with any kind of position in power, because idiot people like this should not even be allowed to hold any jobs. Because if you're this stupid, then I'm sorry, but you have lost your right to work any position that affects other people. Maybe, I don't know, you can draw, you could color a coloring book in a corner. That, I guess, seems a little bit harmless, but these kind of decisions are absolutely idiotic. We'll see what happens with the appeal. Again, Barcelona and Osasuna are planning to join forces to appeal this. We'll see what happens. Hopefully it's changed, because, of course, this match could turn up being decisive, because we are talking about a La Liga title race that is incredibly close, the closest it's been in many years. And this match could end up being decisive. And without Araujo, without Rafinha, that's definitely a huge negative for Barcelona. And again, not to mention Osasuna, they have a match literally the following day. How stupid can you be? Anyways, let's do the comment section, and then we are going to talk about Mateo Lahoz, who has admitted costing Barcelona a La Liga title. Again, not surprised because another idiot who somehow, some way got a job is, of course, Mateo Lahoz. Jabba the Hutt says, we've seen Flick transform a Bayern team that wasn't doing well. We've seen him do the same with Barca. Why do you think he couldn't transform the German national team? It's not like they lack talent. I don't know what went wrong with the German team, nor do I care because it's the German team and I'm not German, so I don't really care. But, running clubs is completely different from national teams, for several reasons. The main one is, of course, you don't get to pick your players. In a club, you can sign players, offload players. You can build a team of players that can fit your philosophy, right? You cannot do with the national team. You're pretty much stuck with whatever players who are professional and happen to hold that nationality, right? The second reason why it's completely different ball game is because in the club, you're with that team every day of the week, year round. So you can implement your philosophy with the players, teach it to them in the classroom, show them videos, and then practice it time and time again in the field. With the national team, that doesn't happen. You meet 3-4 times a year. I don't know if that's enough time to be able to implement your philosophy. And again, you don't get to pick your players. So they're completely two different worlds. So I wouldn't try to compare the two. I wouldn't try to analyze the two because you're trying to, compare apples to oranges. You're trying to understand why fish can't fly and why can't birds swim, right? Completely two different worlds. So I wouldn't, try to decipher this. They're just completely two different worlds. Nathan says, hi, Mo. Did you get enough sleep before you start the podcast? Question, do you any news about Barca selling players on the summer so they can probably buy players? I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. As far as my sleep, I got some sleep. Last night I got back to New York City. I was out of town. I got back around 2 a.m. I made 4 videos, so I didn't go to bed until like 3:30 or 4 a.m. And then today I had to work pretty early. So I'm pretty exhausted, but today I'm going to bed early. Tomorrow I have a very long day, an early day, because I do have to go to court. And Mike Valencia says, I don't understand this. Luis Diaz, be sure he's good, but come on, 28 years old. Plus, I feel for Casado. Sad news. Definitely sad news about Marc Casado. We'll talk about Luis Diaz in a little bit, so I don't want to get ahead of myself. And my man, Klaus, good to see you in the chat section, says, Deco has an unhealthy attraction to Diaz. I can only imagine how angry his wife will be when she finds out. I think I agree with you 100%. Luis Diaz has been on Deco's mind for a very long time. I don't know what the obsession is. I mean, don't get me wrong. Luis Diaz is a talented player. But, if it's not in the stars, it's not in the stars. But we'll talk about it in a little bit. But thank you for your comment. That was pretty funny. And Raul says, sometimes I wonder if Deco secretly wants the downfall of Barca. It's like he purposely targeted players above average. Diaz, give you a break. Nico has all the tools, yet he wants a 28-year-old. I mean, I wouldn't say Deco wants the downfall of Barca, but, it's not like Luis Diaz is a bum. Don't get me wrong. I don't agree with this. I don't think we should try to sign Luis Diaz, not for the price that Liverpool want. But, if he does come, it's not going to be the end of the world. I think he's an excellent player, and I think he would do great at Barcelona. But, yeah, I'm not for that signing. But we'll talk about it in a little bit. I don't want to get ahead of myself. And now let's get back to the news, because we do have to talk about the admissions of Mateo Lahoz, who has admitted that his mistake cost Barcelona a La Liga title. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, this was the 2013-2014 season. It was the final match of the season. It was May 2014. The match was between Barcelona and Atletico de Madrid at the Spotify Camp Nou. Atletico Madrid were sitting at the top of La Liga table with 89 points. Barcelona were in second place with 86 points. Barcelona needed a win. If they won, they even though they would have been drawn on points, Barcelona would have been champions. And of course, Atletico Madrid needed either a win or a draw, and that would have been enough for them to be crowned champions. Now, Alexis Sanchez scored Barcelona's first goal for a 1-0. Then the draw came from Diego Godin for a 1-1. And then during, I think it was the second half, 64th minute, something like that, Lionel Messi gets a pass or there's a pass into the area from Dani Alves. The ball deflects of Atletico Madrid's defender Juan Fran, and the ball gets to Messi. Messi scores, but it's ruled offsides. Now, under the rules back then, if the ball is deflected off an opposing team's player, it was not an offside. So in this case, since it bounced off or deflected off Juan Fran, it shouldn't have been an offside, but Mateo Lahoz thought that the ball had deflected off Cesc Fabregas, so therefore they counted it as an offside goal. The match ended in a draw, 1-1, and then, of course, that's all Atletico Madrid needed, and they ended up being champions. Had this goal counted as it should have, Barcelona would have ended up champions. So Barcelona were robbed of a La Liga title. Now, I do have the video of the play. I'm gonna try to do it frame by frame. That way, the video is not flagged for copyright infringement. So let me see. Hopefully, this works. You know, I've had pretty bad luck with these copyrights, but this is the play. Again, this is the second half. Barcelona versus Atletico Madrid. Of course, Atletico Madrid in yellow. There's the cross that's coming into the box. And then we're going to forward a little bit. And then there's the ball. You see the ball? There's the ball. It deflects off Juan Fran. This is Juan Fran right here. This is Cesc Fabregas. The ball deflects off Juan Fran. And the ball there falls to Lionel Messi. Now, Messi is in an offside position, as you can see, but because the ball deflected of an Atletico Madrid player, it shouldn't count as offsides. So Messi, bam, hits it. It's goal. Barcelona 2-1. Technically, they would have been leveled on points, 89 points each, and being the last match of the season, Barcelona would have been champions, but of course, it's ruled offsides, as you can see. But let's do a close-up. Let's do a close-up because there is Cesc Fabregas. There is Juan Fran. And there comes the ball. Here comes the ball. Here comes the ball. Here comes the bride, but we're saying here comes the ball. Bam. Deflects off Juan Fran. Cesc Fabregas doesn't touch it. Again, here's a repetition. See? It falls in front of him, and it bounces off his chest and his leg. So per the rules, since it bounced off an Atletico Madrid player, it shouldn't have counted as offside, but Mateo Lahoz counted it as an offside, and of course, that cost Barcelona a La Liga title. Now, this is the statements of the clown Mateo Lahoz and what he had to say about this. I was wrong. Looking back, we know now the ball came off Juan Fran. Barcelona and Atletico arrived at the final match level on almost everything, and that one decision changed everything. From my opinion, from my position, I could not tell. I would have bet my 20 fingers, hands, and feet that Cesc touched the ball. The assistant took responsibility, but ultimately it was my decision. So there you have it, folks. Mateo Lahoz admitting that he made a mistake, and that the mistake ended up costing Barcelona a La Liga title. And let's not forget, this was in the year 2014 when Negreira was still under the payroll of Barcelona, and they still want to tell you Negreira influenced the competition. Barcelona bribed referees. Well, one hell of a bribery that was, because we ended up losing a La Liga title. That's huge. That's not one match that we lost due to bad referee. No, we ended up losing that entire La Liga title. And I guess we need a refund, right? If Barcelona were bribing referees through Negreira and this happened, I guess we need a refund because Negreira wasn't doing his job. Now, my question is, can you imagine what would have happened had this happened to Real Madrid? Had Real Madrid lost a La Liga title due to a referee call? Can you imagine the hell that they would have raised? Because let's not forget, we don't even have to go that much back in history. Only a few weeks ago, we had that bad call against Mbappe, which should have been a red card in the Espanyol match. The referee, Munuera, messed up. He didn't call a red card. And just for that, by the way, that match is not costing them anything because they've been shit all season. But just for that one mistake, Munuera was investigated. All his businesses were investigated by the Royal Spanish Football Federation. He was suspended. He received death threats. All that because of one mistake that didn't cost Real Madrid anything. Can you imagine if this would have happened to Real Madrid and cost them a La Liga title? we would be talking about an absolute apocalypse, apocalyptic result. Because if this would have happened to Real Madrid, it would have been over. But of course, since it happens to Barcelona, who cares? Let's just apologize 11 years later and pretend like nothing happened. Now, welcome to the Liga, ladies and gentlemen. Mateo Lahoz once again proven that he's an absolute piece of shit. Of course, I've always said that. I've hated Mateo Lahoz always, and I don't hate that many people. I think he is one of the worst referees in the history of football. Someone who never really cared about integrity of the sport and never really cared about the match itself. Always wanted to be a protagonist, always wanted to be in the spotlight. He ended up being kicked out of the last World Cup because of his controversial refereeing, and I think the day he retired was one of the best days in football. And now, of course, Florentino Perez is trying to put this guy as the head of the Royal Spanish Football Federation. So it looks like we're still going to have to be dealing with this clown. It's absolutely unfortunate, but it is Spanish football, so I am not surprised whatsoever. So to Mateo Lahoz, I say, my friend, from the bottom of my heart, fuck you. All right, let's do the comment section, and then we are going to talk about Deco and what he has been up to, because he has been working behind the scenes, and I'm going to tell you what he has been doing. All right, Not the Gamer says, wouldn't be surprised if Chelsea buy all of our and Osasuna players before that game on pre-contracts for next summer. Yeah. I mean, look, if Chelsea want to sign me, they should sign me. I mean, I'm 35, so I cannot provide any kind of value. I'm out of shape. So I probably cannot run for more than 10 minutes. But hey, if they want to sign me, I mean, it doesn't seem like it's stopping them. They're just signing anybody with a pulse. So if Chelsea want to sign me, I'm all for it. They don't even have to pay me that much. I'm not gonna ask for 20, 30, 40 million euro salary. They can give you just 1 million. That's pretty affordable, right? But so if anyone has contacts in Chelsea with their scouts, with Todd Bowley, please let them know I'm available. They can sign me. I'll sit on the bench. I don't care. But I'm open. Klaus says Osasuna will have to play Thursday, then the next day, Friday. Yeah, absolutely crazy what they're doing. I mean, who is the moron who thought this was a good idea? Like, how stupid are these people? Like, it's just mind-boggling. Like, how can it be this stupid and still be allowed to hold such a powerful position? How? Someone explain this to me. What was the credentials of that person that allowed him to get that job? Like, because this level of stupidity should not be tolerated in such high places. McCoy says, Mo, I think Nico would be a better option than Luis Diaz. Also, I think Barcelona should go after Julian Alvarez. I read that his clause was 50 million. I highly doubt that Julian Alvarez's clause is 50 million. I think it would be a very incredibly stupid thing from Atletico Madrid to do, to spend all this money signing Julian Alvarez only to have a 50 million euro release clause. There's just no way. I don't know what his release clause is, but I doubt it's that low. I just don't see Atletico Madrid committing such a huge blunder. And, Atletico Madrid are known for being tough negotiators with anyone. So I just don't see them being able. Maybe I'm wrong, but it's just a little bit difficult for me to believe that his release clause sits at 50 mil. Mustafa says, Not the Gamer, my boy Zaragoza will be back 24th. Oh, okay. So he's not talking to me. And we do have a donation from Texas Transplant. Thank you so much, my friend, for your generosity. But Texas Transplant says, Sup, Mo? Yesterday, I came across a lot of Madridista videos saying our win yesterday was the dagger in La Liga title. Not saying I'm there yet, but I found it funny as hell. Hope all is well and carry on, my brother. I mean, I wouldn't say it's the dagger yet, because there's still plenty of matches to play, including one against Real Madrid that we have to win. But it was definitely a statement. I'll say that. It was definitely a statement that this team wants to win La Liga title. I think it was a clear statement by this team that we are top candidates, that we want this, and that we're going to fight for this until the final moment. Again, I wouldn't call it a dagger, because there's still at least El Clasico match. We still have to play that. So there's still plenty of matches to go, but it was definitely a statement that we're coming for you. And you meaning, of course, La Liga title. Anyways, thank you, my friend, for your generous donation. Now let's get back to the news, because we do have to talk about what Deco is up to, because, ladies and gentlemen, the Barcelona sporting director is working behind the scenes on the summer transfer market. He has been meeting with agents, representatives, intermediaries day in and day out. There's been a lot of activity at the Barcelona offices with agents and intermediaries seen coming and going. We've seen Deco take flights and go meet with agents and intermediaries, and that's because Deco is currently planning for the summer transfer market, see what's out there, what players are available, how much would they want in salary, how much their clubs are going to want in transfer fees. So Deco is pretty much, I guess, scouting, quote unquote, the market to see what's available. That way, Barcelona can move in the market once they know what the financial fair play will be. Because right now, Barcelona don't know what their financial fair play will look like in the summer. They don't know how much room they're going to have to maneuver and how much room they're going to have to sign players. So they don't actually know what they can afford. But of course, just because you don't know doesn't mean that you're going to sit back and be like, well, there's nothing I can do. I'm just going to watch TV, binge Netflix, and play video games. So, of course, Deco has to continue doing his work, has to continue to see what's out there. That way, as soon as you know how much you can afford, you already did all the legwork as far as figuring out what's available and how much each player would cost. And that way, based on how much you can afford, you know, okay, well, now I know I can afford this guy because I already talked to the representatives and I already know what the asking price would be. So despite not knowing what the financial fair play is, Deco has been moving behind the scenes, trying to figure out what players are available and what Barcelona could aim to sign during the summer. Now, Barcelona will also be counting on the exits of players in order to make space on their financial fair play. Of course, there are several players that could be leaving during this summer transfer market, starting with, of course, Ansu Fati, someone who Hansi Flick does not count on whatsoever. We've seen it time and time again. He's not even being included in squad lists. So he's not even a bench warmer. At this point, he's just a ghost. He doesn't exist for Hansi Flick. So that's a player that could leave. Of course, if Ansu Fati leaves, he would clear a lot of space on the wage bill. He has an incredibly high salary. I think it's around 10 or 11 million euro net. So that would be, a lot of money off Barcelona's books that they would remove. There's also Andreas Christensen, whose contract expires in 2026. So this summer, he'll be entering the last year of his contract. So far, he has not been able to recover. 3 injuries so far that have seen him out that entire season. So he could be out on the exit ramp as well. Of course, Barcelona, we know they've adopted a new rule under Deco where no player will be allowed to play at the club during their last year of contract. You either extend or you leave. And with Christensen entering the last year of his contract, those are the options: extend or leave. And of course, with his constant injuries, it's not going to be extend. It's most likely going to be leave. Now, there's also Pablo Torre, whose contract also expires in 2026. Of course, Barcelona are going to have to decide what they want to do with him. Do they want to sell him this summer? Do they want to extend his contract and then send him out on loan? That's something that Barcelona are going to have to decide. No decision has been made yet. There's Eric Garcia, who Hansi Flick counts on him. But of course, he does have interest from many clubs, including Girona, and any offer north of 15 million euros, Barcelona will consider. Doesn't mean they'll accept it, but they will consider it for Eric Garcia. And then finally, there is Pau Victor, who most likely is not going to be a permanent exit. Most likely will be a loan because he did just sign a new contract until 2029. So I can't imagine Barcelona going to want to get rid of a player they just signed. I imagine it will be a loan, but again, we don't know. So those are the 5 players who kind of are in the exit ramp: Ansu Fati, Andreas Christensen, Eric Garcia, Pablo Torre, and Pau Victor. We'll see which one of them leave. At least 2 of those will end up leaving. And then that, of course, will free up more financial fair play for Deco to continue working and try to make reinforcements for the squad. All right, let's do the chat section, and then we will talk about Luis Diaz. That will be our final segment of the podcast. So let's see. Abraham says, Mo, I think we should go all out for Alvarez. He'll be an amazing signing, and the striker position will be secured the next 10 years. I mean, look, Atletico Madrid just signed Julian Alvarez. So for them to sell a player they just signed and has become their most important player, A, he's not going to be for sale, and B, even if they agree, they're going to want something ridiculous like 150 million. So let's not start dreaming about the impossible. Sean says, I think Deco suffers from tunnel vision going after players who will want a lot of money. And then Vitor Roque, we should go for other Colombian, the 19-year-old, especially if we get him for free. If you're talking about Nasser Villarreal, that's not gonna be a first team player. That's gonna be a Barca Athletic player. If he eventually, ends up developing into a first team player, then he would be promoted. So again, we're talking about here apples and oranges, right? We're talking about we shouldn't sign a first team player, but we should instead sign in his place a Barca Athletic player. The two different teams, two different levels. One doesn't replace the other. Let's see. David says Barca flair with Flick intensity, Flicky Taka. Man, what Flick has done at Barcelona is just absolutely amazing, especially because he has done it with what he had. When he arrived at the club, Flick was like, I don't care. Don't sign me anyone. Sign me anyone. I don't care. Whatever you give me, I'll work with. And that's the true mark of an elite coach. A coach that's like, all right, whatever you give me, I'll make it work. And that's exactly what Hansi Flick has done. As opposed to Xabi or Koeman or the previous coaches that used to say, well, this is what we got. There's not much we can do. The club is broke. The club cannot make signings. So obviously I cannot win because the club won't bring me players. Flick is like, I don't care if you bring me players or not. I'm going to make it work either way. And that's exactly what Flick has done and has turned the same exact squad from last season into a championship winning squad. Same exact fucking squad. This is not a coach that arrived and said, all right, here's my list. Sign me this guy. And Barcelona was like, all right, we got it. We're going to bring in 10 players. No. Literally the same fucking squad. But people still want to defend Xabi till this day and tell me he was a great coach. Then why the fuck did he not do the same thing that Flick is doing if he's such a great coach? Someone explain that to me because no one has been able to explain it to me. Their only explanation is, Mo, you're a hater. Mo, stop talking about Xabi. Mo, if you're calling me a hater, it's because you have no argument. Plain and simple. And that's why you resulted to insults, because you have no fucking argument. If you did have an argument, you would actually lay it out. But since you don't, the easier thing is to say, oh, you're a hater. Oh, you're obsessed. Oh, blah, blah, blah. All you're telling me is that you've lost this argument. That's all you're telling me. All right, let's see. Evgeny says, hi, Mo. At this point, I'm so confident in the team. I don't care about any crap that they try to throw at us. We are capable to win it all in any circumstances. Amen, my friend. I think we have a team that can compete for everything. Whether we win everything or not, that's a whole nother story. But we have a team that has the capability of winning anything and any competition. And Evgeny says, Diaz with improved decision-making could be a world beater, but that is a big what if. Hope we are being smart. And with that, let's transition into the last segment of the news, which is regarding Luis Diaz, because Deco continues to lay out a plan to try to sign the Colombian attacker. Now, Luis Diaz's contract expires in 2027. Right now, his contract renewal with Liverpool is up in the air. There's been swings in both ways. On one hand, they were saying that Liverpool were not really prioritizing Luis Diaz's contract renewal, that they were prioritizing Van Dijk and Mo Salah. But it seems that neither Salah or Van Dijk will end up staying. So if that happens, then they could prioritize the renewal of Luis Diaz. There was also news about how Liverpool have signed a new deal with Adidas, or about to sign a new deal with Adidas, and now will bring a new influx of cash, which will allow them to renew the contract of Luis Diaz. Either way, there's been a lot of news, a lot of rumors about what's going on with Luis Diaz and his contract, but one thing is for sure is that his contract renewal is not finalized. There's no agreement yet. It's still up in the air, and as such, Deco continues to maintain hope that Barcelona will be able to sign Luis Diaz. Now, as we know, Deco is in the market in search for a left winger, and his number one option ahead of anyone else is Luis Diaz, and he wants to make it happen. So it's reported that Deco is working hard to try to find a plan to sign the player. Now, it's reported if Liverpool end up letting Luis Diaz go, it would be around 70 to 75 million euros, which of course is not super, super expensive, but it is expensive for a team like Barcelona who are going through a tough financial time. Now, Luis Diaz does have a very low salary at Liverpool, and that's part of the problem with his renewal. With Luis Diaz wants a much higher salary, a salary that reflects his importance on the Liverpool squad. But despite his low salary, of course, he's not going to come to Barcelona to continue earning a low salary. He's going to want an improved salary. But because it is so low, even an improved salary would still be affordable for Barcelona. But it's still the whole big question about his transfer fee and how can Barcelona afford that. Barcelona would have to offload a lot of players to afford something like that. but it's reported that Deco is working on a plan. Now, I personally have said it many times before. I prefer not to sign Luis Diaz, not because there's something wrong with him. I think he's an incredibly talented player. I think under Flick, he could probably get the best version of him, and we would have a lethal left winger. My problem is, of course, is his age. He's 28 years old. Not to say that he's old, because he's not. He's in his prime. He probably has another good 5-6 years to go. The problem is that he's the same age as Rafinha, so it doesn't make sense to have two wingers the same age, because that means that even though they're still in their prime, eventually both of them are going to get old at the same time, and eventually going to have to get rid of the two of them at the same time, and eventually going to have to sign two players instead of one in order to replace the two of them, because the two of them just got old at the same time. That doesn't make sense to me. If you have a player in his prime, Rafinha, you want to bring someone who's much younger. That way, when Rafinha does get old, that younger player can take his place. And when that younger player takes his place, you sign another one who's even younger. So when the one that just replaced Rafinha gets old, the other one takes his place. And you want kind of like a conveyor belt of players where when one gets old, the one behind them takes his place, so on and so forth, versus getting players who are all the same age and all of a sudden they all get old at the same time. And you're like, oh shit, now I don't have players, now I don't have options. Now I got to go to the market and sign two players instead of one. That's why I think it's a mistake to try to pay 75 million euros for someone who's the same age as Rafinha. Again, not to take away from Luis Diaz. I think he's an incredible player, but 75 million euros for a player who's 28, and when you already have a player who's 28, to me, that doesn't make sense. Now, if he does end up coming, I'm not going to be mad about it. I think Luis Diaz is very talented. I think he would do great things at Barca. I just don't think we should be spending that much money on a 28-year-old. I think we should be looking for someone younger, maybe Nico Williams, maybe someone else, just not Luis Diaz. But again, if he comes, welcome. He's a great player. All right, let's do the chat section. And then we will end the podcast. I have to go pick up my dog, because since I was out of town, I left my dog with a friend to take care of him. Yesterday I got back super late, so I wasn't able to pick up my dog because she was asleep, of course. And then today I worked all day. So I gotta go pick up my dog, and then I'll do another video with more news. Street Fighter says, signing Luis Diaz of the same or more that of the price of Nico Williams will be a big mistake. And Gabriel says, instead of Diaz, could we go out for Madueke of Chelsea? I don't know if we could or not. He's not on Deco's list, or at least not that I'm aware of. We'll see. Texas Transplant says, definitely not Barca related, but I thought it was pretty cool that Newcastle defeated Liverpool yesterday to win their first trophy in 70 years. Yeah, that is pretty cool. It's always nice to see, the underdog winning, but what a week for Liverpool, man. Eliminated out of the Champions League. They were the favorite, right? They were super strong in the group stages. They ended up first on the table. They were the favorite to win it, and then boom, they get eliminated at the hands of PSG through penalties. That's a really shitty way to be eliminated. At least if you play a good game, but the other team is better and they score, you're like, all right, fine, I can accept it. But through penalties, that's really painful. And then they get eliminated out of the cup. I mean, 2 eliminations in 1 week is definitely tough. It's kind of like what's going on at Atletico Madrid. They got eliminated out of the Champions League, and then, they get this huge loss at the hands of Barca, which it could potentially be the end of their run in La Liga. And of course, La Liga is not over until it's over, but if Barcelona win the Osasuna match, Atletico Madrid will be 7 points behind. And at this point of La Liga, 7 points is very tough to overcome. Texas Transplant says, if we were talking about signing a Colombian, I'd rather see us sign Shakira over Diaz. Yeah, I'm all for it. She could sing in every match, kind of like a little halftime Super Bowl show. I think that would up the revenue for Barcelona. I think it'd be a good investment. Ajayi says, Flick's mentality is different from that of Xavi, and the mental difference is so obvious on the team's performance. Good job, brother. I agree 100%. I think I've said it time and time again. This team is just not the same Barca from the previous seasons. This is a mentally strong team. Even under Valverde, I mean, when a team used to get scored on, they would just fall apart. Liverpool, that's a great example, right? We were up, 4-0, 3-0? And then as soon as the first goal came, the whole team fell apart. And it's just a completely different team. It's a team that doesn't matter if they're down 2-0. I mean, hell, we were down 3-1 against Benfica. Doesn't matter if we're down a man. We were down against Real Madrid in the final. We were down a man against Benfica. It doesn't matter. The team keeps fighting. And that is something that we haven't seen in a very, very long time. Henry Kojo says, watch us sign Luis Diaz and then Liverpool get Anthony Gordon. Yeah, we seem to always like sign these players away from Liverpool, and then they end up replacing them with someone much better. Like when we signed Coutinho, and they were like, "Oh, thanks for the money," and they went and signed Van Dijk. I would have much rather that we have signed Van Dijk. Of course, now it doesn't matter because we have amazing defenders. But back then, I think Van Dijk would have been a great help. Let's see. Sean says, I think Flick equals Xavi record of 18 games without defeat. Interesting. I'll have to look into that. Not the Gamer says, if we sign in anyone, we should be signing Dr. Sean Murphy as new head doctor, by the way, who is replacing the lead doctor. The lead doctor did not die. The lead doctor is, hold on, I'm blanking on his name. Ricard Pruna. That's the lead doctor of Barcelona, Ricard Pruna. Dr. Carlos Miñarro worked under Dr. Ricard Pruna. So the lead doctor of Barcelona is still alive. He's still there. Dr. Ricard Pruna. Dr. Carlos Miñarro worked under him. May he rest in peace. We'll see who Barcelona will replace Dr. Carlos Miñarro with, but the lead doctor is still there. All right, one more. Street Fighter says our first team women are under 19 is on track to win at Trebel. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. Amazing performance by both. What a shame that's going on with Barca Athletic, but Juvenil A is now stepping it up, and they're like, all right, Barca Athletic, if you're going to fuck up, we got this. We're going to give joy to Barcelona fans who follow the academy. And Mr. Misterio says, I swear, what does Deco see in Luis Diaz? I get he's talented, but he must see prime R9 inside him as a hidden potential or something. Again, I don't think Luis Diaz is a bad player. I think he's a talented player. I think he would do well in Barcelona. Do I want him? No, I prefer to sign someone younger. But if he does come, I'm not going to be like, oh my God, fuck this. Right? I do agree that Deco seems to be obsessed. Like, there's other options out there too. Anyways, that is all, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for tuning in, for your comments, your likes, your subscriptions, your generous donations. If you haven't hit the like button yet, make sure you do. It really helps the channel continue to grow. If you haven't subscribed yet, also make sure you do. Completely free, takes a second, and it makes me happy because I see that the channel is growing. I will see you guys in a video. I'm going to be posting a video later tonight with more news, so I'll see you guys in that video. Again, thank you